FSHP president. Next. So I will be going through a welcoming introduction, and then we're going to look at society highlights. The Educational Affairs Council chair will be there to present on the Educational Affairs Council, and the Professional Affairs Council will be there to present on the Professional Affairs Council. In terms of advocacy, legal and regulatory and PAC updates, so we do have the Technician Affairs Board Liaison, President-elect Kathy Baldwin, and the PAC chair to present on those, and then we will have the treasurer to present on financials. And at the end, we will conclude with some closing remarks, and we will open it up for any questions or concerns you may have. Next. I do want to start by looking at this code. We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. So take a moment to reflect on this. So we all have busy jobs, and we all give it all to our jobs. And sometimes we have very little time for our family or for our profession, but our profession needs us. And FSHP is a member-driven organization. It needs the engagement of the members in order to accomplish its missions. Next. And professional engagement has been shown in the literature to lead to positive outcomes, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's a hospital setting, academic setting, ambulatory care setting. It generally leads to a sense of achievement, where people who are professionally engaged tend to have a sense of achievement. They attend, and they're not just physically there, but they're mentally there, giving their best. It leads to a sense of productivity. So they feel more productive because they're contributing. In our case, they're contributing to our profession. And ultimately, it leads to a sense of satisfaction that the pharmacist will be more satisfied at the workplace and in the professional organization. Next. The professionally engaged pharmacist actually thinks and behaves in ways that positively affect patients' health and advance the profession's value and societal missions. So in the article that is shown below, there are 12 beliefs and 9 behaviors associated with the professionally engaged pharmacist. And I want to show you a little bit the beliefs and the behaviors in the next slide. So if you look at the beliefs of the professionally engaged pharmacist, he or she is reliable, responsible, accountable, altruistic, honest, is a lifelong learner, displays empathy, compassion, he's competent, collaborative, committed to advancing the profession, passionate, effective communicator, optimistic, resilient, and proudly associates with the profession and believes in its value. And I truly believe that all the pharmacists on there that took time out of their busy schedule to be during the town hall, to be with us at the town hall meeting, have those beliefs or share these beliefs. And they also share the behaviors I'm going to talk about in the next slide. So the professionally engaged pharmacist displays certain behaviors. So he or she belongs to professional pharmacy organizations, so belong to FSHP, for example, serves as a preceptor or role model for our learners or for our junior practitioners, maintains professional competencies up to date on what's going on in the pharmacy world, attends and engages in professional meeting, advocates for patients, public health, well-being, serves as a professional mentor, develop strong interpersonal relationship. I mean, how many of you would say that a large percentage of your friends are pharmacists? Just by being engaged in FSHP, we surround yourself by pharmacists and by other healthcare professionals who are engaged in our profession. Evaluate and monitor patients to ensure safety and contributes to the advancement of knowledge. So these are all the behaviors that are associated with a professionally engaged pharmacist, which I'm sure you display many of them just by the fact that you're engaged and you're with us today. So there are plenty of opportunities to engage with FSHP. And right now the call to volunteer is open. So we do have 6 councils that need your help. We have 2 clinical forums and we are growing. So we may put together additional clinical forums to share best practices among like-minded or among pharmacists who share a similar area of pharmacy practice. We have 2 ad hoc committees, the research ad hoc committee and the diversity, equity and inclusion ad hoc committee. We have several elected offices that are open, including the office of the president-elect for FSHP. There are plenty of opportunities for speaking engagement. So if you haven't done that yet, so you can submit your CV on our Speakers Bureau. And the Education Affairs Council usually rely on the Speakers Bureau to select speakers at the state level. And also there are plenty of opportunity for speaking engagement at our local affiliates. The mentor-mentee program. So please sign up to be a mentor for plenty of our students who need your guidance and who need your mentoring. Regional society involvement. So beyond attending the regional society to get the needed CE, there are plenty of opportunity to do community service or opportunities for fellowship and camaraderie among pharmacists and technicians. And lastly, I know many of you have done outstanding things, particularly during a hard year, such as the COVID-19 year. I think we're like year 3 now, sometimes we often do things behind the scene and nobody knows about it. So if you know of a deserving colleague, please take the time to nominate them for an award so then they can feel like, so you can encourage them. And then if you know of a colleague who will meet the fellow criteria of FSHP, it's pretty much a very objective criteria. So as long as you meet the criteria or your colleague meet the criteria, you can nominate them. And then the Professional Affairs Council will review, ensure that they hit the minimal points and they could be elected or they could be designated as a fellow of FSHP. So that's all what I have in terms of opening. I will lead it next to the, I believe next is the society highlights. Okay, the annual meeting is this Stephanie Brown. So Stephanie Brown is the chair of the Educational Affairs Committee. Are you with us, Stephanie? Or Sarah Panella. Is Sarah Panella with us? She's the board liaison for the education.
Well, so Stephanie is, I see Stephanie on, I'm technically not the board liaison, but I was gonna highlight the fall meeting. I think Melissa
Sarah,
is the board liaison. Okay, okay, great.
Sorry, I'm commuting, so I lost connectivity there for a moment. But thank you for the introduction and for allowing us to have this moment to give some updates for the Educational Affairs Council. First, you can see here on your screen is the advertisement for the annual meeting. The Educational Affairs Council has been working very hard to create some great content for 2 meetings this year. The first one is the annual meeting that you see there. The second one, Sarah will speak to in just a moment. The annual meeting is August 5th through 7th at the Disney Swan and Dolphin. And the theme is Together Towards Tomorrow. The committee's been working very hard on some great content. The keynote speaker will be the Executive Vice President and CEO of the American Pharmacists Association, Scott Knorr, and his keynote topic will be Envisioning Tomorrow, Pharmacy Practice of the Future. So there will be some great content on how to expand practice and to do more with within our scopes of practice. So we're really excited about this content. We sincerely hope to see you all in August. The registration is currently open. And then just to echo Elias's call for volunteering, you know, our council as well as all the other councils are always looking for great volunteers, and the Speakers Bureau is open, and we're excited to have qualified speakers who are willing to give topic presentations and to include their information there so that as we plan content throughout the year, we have great speakers to draw from. And with that, I'll hand it over to Sarah to talk about the fall meeting.
Thank you, Stephanie. So this year, we are having an inaugural one-day ambulatory care symposium. Just as it looks like in the title, the topics are more focused on the ambulatory care setting. We have three sort of different tracks. Two of them are clinical, and one of them is a leadership track. It offers 6 CEs that you can obtain, but to 9 in total. We're again also very excited about this content. We have some really great speakers within those tracks, and we're really looking for it's. Oh, and I forgot to mention it's in Tampa. I believe we're still working on the location. I don't think we have any updates on the location just yet.
We have
Tamika,
confirmed. Yes.
We have confirmed. Wonderful. Okay, so if you can add in that information, that'd be great.
So we're gonna. You want me to go ahead and give it now? We're going to be at the
Yes,
USF
please. Yes,
downtown campus. The new
thank you.
building.
So we're really excited about this, and we encourage everyone, although it's ambulatory care focused, that anyone who is currently practicing or is looking to build ambulatory care practices in their setting, we highly encourage attending this meeting. It is full of content to help existing and those who really want to develop out practices. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Stephanie, and thank you, Sarah, for presenting on our annual meeting and on our fall meeting. So next I have Petra Estat, Chair of the Professional Affairs Council.
Hey, yes, Elias, thank you all for your time. I wanted to put in a few plugs for some of the major projects that Professional Affairs is working on. So this is really crunch time for our group between posters, awards, and the fellowship. So the poster abstract deadline is coming up. It's the 29th. So this is really our first deadline here on Friday. So the link's been posted. Even for individuals that maybe don't quite have their results, please encourage them to apply. They only need their results for the final project, so not up originally. So please, if you have any projects in mind, the abstracts are the 29th, and there are also samples that are on the website. Next slide. So the awards, we've already gotten some plugs about awards and fellowships, but this deadline is also impending. So next Friday on May 6th. So the awards, we currently only have 3 nominees across our awards. So we have a lot of great colleagues. Please consider them, nominate them, encourage them to nominate themselves. These winners, as usual, will be announced during our annual meeting in the House of Delegates. So we're live, they have their moment to shine. So please, let's ensure that we have great applicants. And lastly, takes me to our fellows. So there's a little bit more time here with a deadline of May 13th. We did seriously evaluate the process of application, making letters of recommendation optional this year. So certainly if you have people that think very highly of you and can speak to your qualifications, ask them to write you letters of recommendation. But we wanted to remove any barriers that you may see in potentially asking a boss or somebody of that nature for a nomination. So hopefully this process is going to be even easier for everyone this year. We have a lot of senior members of FSHP that have a lifetime of accomplishments that should certainly be recognized, and they'd be great nominees. But anybody that has been in the practice of pharmacy for more than 10 years and meets the point requirements with the rubric that's posted on the website is welcome to apply. So please do so. You know, Professional Affairs wants work to do and applications to review, so send those our way. And I believe that concludes the Professional Affairs Council update. Thank you.
Thank you, Petra. So next I have Sharita Barrios, FSHP Technician Board Member.
Good afternoon. Thank you all, as everyone has said, for your time. Next slide. I wanted to just let everyone know that Technician Council has been working hard on a lot of things this year, but wanted to highlight the Technician Recruitment and Retention Subcommittee for the Town Hall. Here you can see the committee members. We have Mike, John, Dave, Heather, Kathy, Jeff, myself, Anisha, Tara, and Gail. As you all know, there is a huge shortage of technicians within our health system market. And I really want to thank everyone on the subcommittee for first recognizing the importance of the issue and their willingness to act so fast and to help to find some solutions. So the team got to work, and we found that a big part of the problem was, as you can see, there's a lot of non-traditional jobs that have been created by the specialty pharmacy arena. And some of those jobs, obviously with COVID started, they were working from home, which is a plus. And they're $25+ an hour. So for a technician, that's pretty good. And we also found that these are jobs that were previously jobs that pharmacists have done traditionally. You do have to be a registered technician to perform these jobs, but there's clinical services, drug utilization review, prior auth, coverage determination. We have a clinical program like the MTM. And again, these are non-traditional jobs performed by technicians, but their titles do not always carry a technician label. So when you have the HR folks, calling around and saying, "Oh, how much do you pay your technicians?" Well, they don't usually look at these jobs that are making $25 an hour. So they'll go, "Oh, with the lower, they'll be quoted the lower price." It's not until the lower pay. It's not really until you look at the job description where you see that it's a technician that's performing it. And that brings us to to the next slide, which Kathy is going to give us some of the recommendations.
Thank you, Sharita. Well done. And I wanted to let everyone know that it was because of this town hall meeting, and it was actually Mike McGee and Dave Lacknow who brought up that we have a crisis with finding technicians. And so what Sharita just presented is some of the reasons why. So the recommendation from this team is to create a forum to share best practices on recruitment and retention. And that includes formulating and sharing an organized approach to create standardized career technician ladders. And we'll put that together and share that with the membership. We also want directors and vice presidents to know that the HR department may be calling up another hospital and saying, what is your salary per hour? And recognize that our hospital matches your hospital, but we're not losing our techs to other hospitals. We're losing them to these specialty jobs. So we want to get that information out to everyone. Next slide, please. So as far as, I think we went backwards, or it's a duplicate. Okay, so I'm going to jump into legal and regulatory here, and Ken Comany is going to help me. But the first thing we wanted to do was continue this conversation about technicians and technician legislation. So Bill Kernan and the L&R committee strategically planning to form a technician recruitment subcommittee under the L&R to advance technician legislation, and particularly to focus on increasing or actually removing the barriers to technician reciprocity from other states. So we feel like Florida is a good state to reciprocate to, and this might go over very well. We know that we have a legislative team up in Tallahassee. Our legislators are about removing barriers, making more jobs in Florida, and we can use that to our advantage. And so there'll be other technician legislation things that we will be brainstorming on as well. But if you'll go to the next slide, please. Ken, are you on and want to take this over?
Yeah, I can. Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Okay. I can't see the slides. I'm just on the phone. Is this does it start with the save the date slide?
Yes, save the date.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, good. Good. So the legal regulatory work group subcommittee has been working diligently over the last, 12 to 18 months on white bagging and insurance policies that affect patient choice and things like that. And so we've been very active with the Board of Pharmacy. We have had a work group from the Board of Pharmacy that was created, and Jorge Garcia and myself represented FSHP on that work group. Very productive 12 months of meetings, and we hope to share the story through a webinar. We think that the best approach to this now is getting the word out and making people aware of what white bagging is and what steps people can take within the state to address that. We have a national speaker in Kyle Robb, truly a content expert and a subject matter expert in the area of white bagging, has helped 10 different states to date that have legislation that is moving forward to ban white bagging. He's going to do part of the presentation. He's going to talk a little bit about white bagging and what other states in the country are doing. And then the second part, Jorge and I are going to be involved with some group discussion and share what the results of the Board of Pharmacy and the Board of Pharmacy's actions around this. So I think you can advance to the next slide, Kathy.
Yeah. And this is the one you corrected. Yeah.
Oh, is this it's kind of a flow diagram of
I ditched
blue
that.
boxes, or?
This is the brief overview about the the rules that already exist.
Gotcha.
This was slide
Okay.
number 3.
Yep. So they are not creating any new rules around this area. In discussions with the board members and with the chair, that would go through a lot of committees for adjustments and would really create a runway that would be it would just stall things out. So they believe that the current laws and statutes around pharmacy would cover white bagging. Specifically, what they focused on was the definition of what dispensing is, and that it's the ultimate provision of drugs to the consumer or his or her agent. And looking at what an agent of the patient is, an agent has to consent to be an agent of the patient, and so that's required in a hospital. That's the pharmacy that needs to provide that consent, who's going to receive the drug and store the drug. And that has to happen on every single drug that's sent. This can't be a blanket type of consent process that it would in fact be required for every single patient. And then it removes the onus from the receiving hospital to the specialty pharmacy to provide that. They certainly had not a one-size-fits-all approach to this. And so that if pharmacies were interested in white bagging, that they would be allowed to. But again, in this situation, if a hospital did not agree to be an agent of the patient and that drug was sent, that would be considered a misfill and it would be disciplined. So that's just a very brief overview to what the webinar is we're going to get into a lot more depth of that. But anyway, next slide gives the date and the time of that webinar. This is going to be a live webinar, and I think we agreed that it's going to be recorded as well. Is that right, Kathy?
Yes, Mika, correct me if I'm wrong. That's going to be recorded for people to come behind and take it.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it'll be available. Our biggest, again, from a legal regulatory subcommittee standpoint, our biggest concern is that we need to get awareness of this out there. We need to make sure that people are aware of this practice, and if they're not interested in participating in this practice, what are some of the steps that they can take to remedy this? And so we'll share the link and share a discussion around, how do you file a complaint with the Board of Pharmacy, or how does your patient file a complaint with the Board of Pharmacy on a misfill? And so anyway, we'll get into more of that discussion, but save the date. It will be recorded if you're interested in that. But we're really excited about getting that information out.
Thank you, Ken. So just a couple more things. I'll piggyback onto what Ken said. I was speaking with my hospital president and he said, you know, there's some physicians in our hospital who would be interested in this. There'd be some administrators who would be interested in this, not just pharmacists. So this is an opportunity for us to get out of our pharmacy silos and invite people. It will be a 1 hour CE for pharmacists and for techs. It won't be CE for other people, but it will be a very robust discussion because Kyle Robb is the content expert at ASHP. And Ken, who works at Moffitt, does not engage in white bagging. Jorge Garcia, who works at Baptist South in South Florida, does. And so there'll be a lot of discussion around the pros and the cons. And this is all in response to some of the hospital contracts that are coming out where the insurers are demanding white bagging. And so as they more and more demand, more and more people push back. And so as Ken said, some hospitals will want to do this because they don't have any options. And so there'll be a pathway for them. And for hospitals who don't want to do this, there'll be more options. And this is a bridge for us until we can get legislation. I was on an ASHP call today and 10 states have white bagging legislation. We are currently drilling down all that language to see what would work best for Florida. So next slide, please. Yeah, you can skip that. Okay, so I'll just go right into legislation. Bill Kernan, I want to thank you. Bill did a legislative update that will be being released soon. And I took your paper, Bill, and I put it on a slide. So HB 357, Bill, do you want to present this?
No, Kathy, go right ahead.
Okay, so pharmacies and pharmacy benefit managers, this is the first time after 5 attempts, 3 that actually got legislation, that we were able to pass a PBM reform bill. It's kind of like a PBM light reform bill, but it does require the insurance and the PBMs to register with the Office of Insurance Regulators. And so if they don't register when they're supposed to, they are fined $10,000. And if they still don't register, it's a $10,000 hit to them every single time. HB 1209, administration of vaccines. This is huge because it does multiple things. The first is when the PrEP Act comes to an end, which could be as early as May 15th this year. That's when the COVID pandemic is done. When the government says it's done, then the PrEP Act goes away and techs can no longer administer vaccines unless you have state language. And now we have state language. So it tells us here that techs must complete an initial 6-hour immunization and then 2 hours of continuing education. The board is grappling with, should they be CPR trained or not? So stay tuned on that. The other interesting thing that it did is we had different ratios of techs to pharmacists depending upon the work setting. So the legislators came through for us in a big way, which we didn't anticipate would happen. So the legislators have decreed that in Florida, the pharmacist to technician ratio will be 1 to 5, and it will not exceed that number. Now, we had also planned and tried very hard to get that technician or pharmacy intern ratio to be a little higher for the interns. And so they came through again for us in a big way. And they said the law of the land will be pharmacist to technician ratio not to exceed 1 to 5. And that can include interns. So a pharmacist can oversee 5 interns and no techs. So whatever mixing and matching you want to do with that, that's huge. The last bill that passed is not on here, but it's Narcan dispensing. And pharmacists are able to prescribe Narcan. So I've been on multiple calls about this. John Armistead has helped us, and we actually have a subcommittee on the free Narcan grant program through DCF. And what's happening in our society is that there's been big payouts from pharma, from the Purdue Frederick people and a lot of other opiate producers, and to the tune of $6 billion from one of those companies. And they are supporting MAT therapy in the States, and they are supporting a free Narcan. Whether you work for a for-profit or not-for-profit, you can enroll in this. You don't need an outpatient license. The Narcan processes have been developed by John Armistead and are available for sharing at your institution if you are interested in this. And all it does is put Narcan in your Omnicell. The nurse takes it out, documents education, and gives it to the patient to take home with them. And the last bill that passed is acute care at home. And this is a very proactive bill. When we were having our ASHP legislative call today, I mentioned this and they said, good for you, Florida, you're being proactive. I said, wow, because we're very reactive. But this bill allows Class 3 pharmacies to provide medications for the acute hospital at home setting. So big wins. I'm saying maybe post-pandemic, who knows? Next slide, please. So national legislation, we all know that we have a national Pharmacy and Medically Underserved Enhancement Act that seeks to provide national provider status to pharmacists in medically underserved areas, which is mostly Florida. But there's a new bill, and it's HR 7213, the Equitable Community Access to Pharmacist Services Act. And it's in the vein of COVID-19, influenza, and strep throat. And we were told today that ASHP is looking for people who engage in immunizations, test and treat. They are looking for advocates to take these stories at the national level to key decision makers, including legislators, but also public health officials. So if you engage in strep throat test and treat and immunizations and are interested in that, please let Mika know, let me know, and email us, and we will get you engaged with that. You do have to be an ASHP member, of course, which I would recommend anyway. Next slide. So I show this, the National Provider Status 2021 on-demand webinar. Thank you. And if you're not quite sure about how national provider status works, this is a drill down as to what other professions did to gain this legislative language. And so there are some strategies that we are going to borrow from that when we get our national provider status. Thank you. Next slide, please. Mark, up to you.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Kathy. And thank you for everybody and having me on tonight. So all of those amazing legislative updates have to start. And I think we've talked about it. The reality is it takes money to make change. And I've always, the one thing that I think is so fantastic, especially from the PAC perspective, is these aren't $1,000 donations. These aren't $5,000 donations. When I see the donations coming in, a lot of them are $30, $50, $5 even on a monthly basis. And so we have a goal of $50,000 this year. We're on track right now. We have about $37,500 within the PAC fund, and we should be able to make that goal. But as always, there's a call to action. And that call to action is go to the FSHP.org website. If you are not a monthly donor, click on the link at the bottom, or you can go to the PAC page and donate there as well. There are a couple of requirements. Most everybody meets those requirements to be able to donate and really help us to make that goal of 50,000. And so next year when we're sitting on this town hall meeting and we're listening to those amazing legislative updates, that list is even longer, and the list of the accomplishments and the things that we need to push the profession of pharmacy are really there. And then we're planning at the annual meeting on August 6th, we are planning a happy hour. We should have a legislator there as well as some opportunity to mingle and really talk about our advocacy within the legislative team. You have to be a $50 or greater monthly donor to attend the happy hour. So really looking forward to having everybody there. It should be a great way to kick off the evening and spend some time together. So Kathy, back over to you.
Thanks, Mark. I just want to mention that we're working with the foundation to help support this event, and that would open the event to all residents so that you can come and see what it's like to really engage legislatively in the profession. So more to come on that. Thank you, Mark. Next slide, please. And there's the donation site. Thanks, Mark. Next slide, please. Oh, Mark, back to you.
This is just another slide that shows we're at 37,000 on our goal for 50,000 this year, and we should hit it. It's, you know, Kathy always says, you know, we pay a monthly check for our home insurance, our car insurance, and this really donating to the PAC is really helping to ensure that your profession does not get left behind when it comes to legislation and continues to stay on the forefront of our legislators. And then I think the next slide is actually just going into the happy hour that we talked about. And that would be awesome if the foundation supports it and we get to have a great sing. But I think everybody should still sign up for the $50 or a month greatly donorship as well. So thank you.
Next slide, please.
Thank you, Kathy, and thank you, Mark, for presenting on advocacy, on the importance of donating money to the PAC. So next, I do have the Treasurer's Report, which is the February financials. Is Treasurer Sharjetta James on the call?
Hey, Elias, this is Dave. Sharjetta, if you're there, I'll let you take it over. If not, I'll jump in.
Thank you, Dave. I don't think she's on yet.
Okay. All right, guys. So we're presenting February's financials. It's the last closed month that we have officially posted in our books. Overall, just for again this forum, generally speaking, we're doing pretty well with overall financials. Elias, you have the profit and loss statement here.
Yes, it's up.
Okay. And you zoomed in. Can you scroll down a little bit? All right. There. All right. Sorry, guys. Used to seeing this a different way. So guys, just in general right now, we've got probably in investment income, we've probably got $1 million in investment income that honestly, to me, acts as our kind of our security blanket that we can always liquefy if needed. But we've got another 500,000 in our savings account that are liquid too for cash. We look like we're going to close the year out pretty good with our monthly operating expenses. As we go into this from a financial viewpoint, the next big impact for us is going to be the annual meeting. Financially, we always look to the annual meeting to really support our state financials overall, and that always comes with good turnout from the group. You could see, is there a next slide on this presentation here? Is there 2 statements or just one?
One.
Just one.
Okay, this is the monthly operating income. So that's why, again, it gives me the what happened in the month, but what I'm explaining to you is kind of the overall what's happening in all of our accounts total. So again, I can pause there for if there's general questions about the financial report of where we are as a healthcare or as a society or a state chapter. Good. Elias, Kathy, is there anything else you want me to cover?
I'm good.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Dave.
Okay.
Thank you, Dave. Next is any closing remarks. If immediate past President Jeff Bush, would you like to say any closing remarks?
Yeah, after I triple mute myself, I just want to say thank you to everybody. It's been, a tough, I would say, couple of years, but you can see we're coming out, I would say, on a shiny end. We made enough progress through the pandemic where we are starting to steamroll to where we are, or where I would say where we were in the past. Our memberships are starting to increase back to where we are. Financially, we're becoming stable. We've always been stable, but we're getting back to where we were back in 2019. It's on baby steps. Our councils have done a phenomenal job. The Education Council working for the annual meeting, putting together the fall meeting, the professional affairs, everything, our technician council, every council that we have has really, I would say, exceeded our expectations for the year already because of the pandemic. But we're sitting in a really good place, and I just hope that you guys see that from the outside, because we certainly are seeing that, from the board as the EC as well. But again, it's all because we are one hardworking society. It's not just your board of directors. It's not just your executive council. But remember, those councils are all made up of you, our members. So really, the success of the society is all of us. It's not just our board members. It's not just our executive council. It's all that we're working towards a common goal, and that's to move our profession forward. And we've done that in the last couple of years. And I just wanted to say thank you. And I appreciate every one of you.
President
Thank you,
Shaheen, if I
Jeff.
can say something.
Sure.
So I was thinking today about the annual meeting, and I thought if I were sitting on the fence about whether to go or not, I would want to take into account that it's at a Disney, the Swan and Dolphin. It's basically, Mika, correct me if I'm wrong, $160 a night. Hotels right now are $300 and $400 a night. What a great way to get away, go to Disney, and come to a wonderful CE networking FSHP annual meeting. I just want to put that plug in there for, and again, Mika, tell me if I'm wrong, $160 a night for the hotel.
I think it's 188.
Oh, 188, excuse me.
But that's still good. If you look on the website, it's doubled or tripled that to stay at the Swan and Dolphin. So it's a great rate. So
yeah, the reason it's so good is because Mika negotiated these four years ago, these rates.
Because I can't wait to see everybody. I need the rates to be just right so that we can see each other, hopefully smiling, maybe no mask. We don't know yet, but right now we're going to keep the mask just in case. But looking forward to seeing everybody. Stephanie and Sarah, they already talked about the meetings that we have coming up. All of our councils have worked really hard. I know because I am sitting on those calls with them. We want to see more of you on those calls and on those Zoom meetings. The councils are open. I put the link in the chat to www.fshpannualmeeting.com. Everything you want to know about the annual meeting, about councils, about fellow, residency showcase, scholarships, everything can be found on that one page. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to call me or text me, or well, for those who have my phone number, or email me if you have any questions. But we are planning for a great annual meeting and looking forward to our inaugural fall meeting that's going to be held in Tampa. So just want to thank all of our members, our executive committee, and our board of directors for doing all that they do. There's so much that's done behind the scenes. And I know we only have an hour for these town halls, and that doesn't give us any amount of time to tell you exactly how much work goes on behind the scenes, just trying to keep this society on that platform and that level where we've come from and where we're going. So again, thank you all for coming. And if there are any questions, we do still have some time.
Before we open it up to any question, I would like to give the microphone to Jeremy Lund, Chair of the House of Delegates.
Hey everyone, I just wanted to give a quick reminder about deadlines for House of Delegates. The resolution submission deadline is coming up next week. The form is on the FSHP website. You can submit those to Tamika. If you have any questions about the language that you're thinking about, or just about how to write the resolution in general, please reach out to myself or Farima. And also for those interested in the Committee on Resolutions, that is the ad hoc committee that exists to review the resolutions, provide feedback to the authors. If you're interested in serving on that committee, it's about a month and a half commitment. We're usually looking at 2 or 3 hour long meetings. Not a big commitment, but if you're interested in legislation, interested in seeing how things work in the background of FSHP, it's a great opportunity to see that. If you're interested, if you're thinking about maybe running for House of Delegates chair in the future, I would highly encourage you to serve on this committee. So if you're interested in that, please reach out to me. If you don't have my email, please reach out to Tamika, and I'm sure she'll send in your name over to myself as well. Thank you.
And President Shaheen, if we can thank Mika for all her hard work and her ongoing professionalism and support. We're very grateful to you, Mika, for all that you do for us.
Sure, I do actually want to remind all the people on the call that FSHP is a relatively large state affiliate. We're the third large state affiliate in terms of membership. We have the largest annual meeting in the state of Florida, so the largest gathering for pharmacists in the state. We usually get more than 1,000 attendees at our annual meeting, and we only currently have one full-time staff member, and that is Tamika. So please give her a round of applause and thank her for all what she does for us. Thank you, Mika. Well, I'm going to open it up for any questions or comments you may have. I see a lot of comments in the chat. All right, hearing none, so this will conclude our meeting for tonight. Any questions or comments? We're always up to receive any feedback. You're welcome to email Mika, myself, or any member of the executive committee or the board of directors. We look forward to seeing you at our annual meeting in August. Thank you and have a great evening.
Have a great evening, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you.